Back for the final big finale of Road to Stadium Australia. We've arrived at our final stop at Stadium Australia. This is the last part of this series, and we have made it. We've made it all the way through to the final, but it wasn't meant to be for us as England fans today, and it was. I'm still kind of not with it, but I'm gonna try and get this through this pod with my 3 favourites in the whole wide world. And joining to me as always is G. G, how are you feeling?
Are there words? Yeah, obviously in the next couple of days the pride will come back through, but it's just so gutting. Ever since the game, I've literally just been sat in silence, just not processing it, dealing with it. But yeah, just obviously what we've done to achieve this, we've already made history. Things will continue to change for the better in our country and other countries, but yeah, just that final hurdle is just such a shame, isn't it?
Right, absolutely. And as always, one of them absolutely terrorizes me. One also puts up with the abuse. But Matt, how are you?
I wonder which one I am.
I think I know which one you are.
I go back to those 98 lyrics. Stay in bed, drift away. Think about what could have been more than anything. It was a real shame, really, because there was opportunities to really do something, and I thought maybe this would be it. But as G's mentioned, it just wasn't meant to be.
Absolutely. Finally, but not so least, the Mr. Cynic himself. Adam, how are you?
Gutted. It feels a bit raw. You know what I mean? As much as I want to be smug over the fact that I predicted right, I feel that's A, not going to go down well, and B, it feels irrelevant because of the overriding emotion, which is we were so close. And yeah, I mean, anyone who saw my Twitter timeline, because I find when I get emotional like that, the best thing I can do is vent, and just vent in the form of hot takes and random Twitter jokes, just to sort of flush it out the system, the disappointment, the overriding disappointment I felt. And yeah, I'm proud of the team to get this far, I think. But we'll go into a bit more on the pod, but the overriding feeling is that I'm proud of the team to have got to a first World Cup final, men and women, since '66. And that in itself is an incredible achievement. It wasn't meant to be this time, though, sadly.
Sorry about that. I was just sitting there muting my mic and that didn't work. No, so Serena stuck with what she had in the semi-finals. Was we all happy about that for the starting 11? First half hour of football, it was very much to and fro and probing each other, and then that goal turned up. Olga Carmona, left foot shot from the left side of the box into the bottom right. Yeah. Matt, as a part of the goalkeepers union, could have Mary have stopped that. It was I hate to say it was a class goal.
I actually if you go further back, it's Lucy Bronze's fault because she's lost the ball in the midfield. She's decided to go charging forward. She knows these players better than anyone else, first and foremost. She should know when to release the ball. And she was overcrowded. Instead of trying to turn back and try and find a pass, she decided to stroll forward, and the ball gets nicked and it's on her side. So once again, that right hand side's been exposed. Everyone's sort of pushed over towards the left, leaving that huge space. Carmona has everything to do. The only thing from goalkeeper perspective is you could probably say either she's expecting I believe it was Millie Bright or Alex Greenwood at that time. My memory's not as fresh as it would be, but someone should have been there closing her down. And because they're not closing her down, Mary's got two options. Either she goes out and tries to cause more chaos, well, not cause chaos, try and close down the target. So then but then even then she can pass it because Spain are coming forward like it was. I'm trying to use a good analogy. I don't think any analogy. They were
Red
just
arrows.
they were just going as far forward as possible. They were just outnumbered. So all she could have done is either way. I think that would have probably ended up in a good opportunity for Spain to get one. I don't think anything can be done from the goalkeeping's perspective. From the defensive perspective, it is very chaotic, and you can probably point fingers, and probably Lucy Bronze will be the first to say that it wasn't her best game, if I'm honest.
I wouldn't say that about the closing minutes, if I'm honest with you. But Hemp didn't have the best of days. Hit the crossbar. And then I think just missed when she was in the 6-yard box. I mean, what kind of happened with her today?
I don't know, because it was a very good shot in the first couple of minutes, wasn't it? Just on the crossbar. It was always going. I don't think it was going to challenge. It was always, when she hit it, she was kind of leaning back and it was going up. So I thought that was going to set the tone, and nothing really happened after that, which was a real shame. Tempo today was just being pushed off the ball so easily, and you look at her goal, or the goal to set up Russo in the last game. She bodies like 3 Australian players in the midfield, and like nothing is going to stop her. But yet today it just wasn't clicking. They were I got to say, Spain actually man marked and defended extremely well today. They were everywhere, and it was one of those moments where they looked like they had more players on the pitch than we did, because they were just everywhere in groups working together. So we just weren't given. I don't think we were given the freedom that we were probably maybe not expecting, but were used to be able to run at these players. And although Chloe Kelly was offside, so even if she had tapped that in, it would have been obviously disallowed. But I think she should have got a much better connection on it. Like that's a huge chance, and you'd think the form she has been in leading into this game, she would have buried it. So it was really disappointing. But I mean, we've got to say, no one really was outstanding today. They were their moments to shine and moments not to shine. So it's no one in particular's fault. But I agree with Matt that obviously Lucy, she's very athletic up and down the pitch. Every other time that would work, and she plays it through to Tooney, and we're away. But she held on for it way too long, and she just didn't look. Sometimes throughout the whole tournament, she had it in her to keep going up and back, and then to leave. I've seen loads of comments today blaming Russo for that goal, and I think, hang on, she's the striker. She should not be sprinting back to fill the gap and be the reason that goal goes in. So I think she's had a really unfair day today. I would just say that.
Oh no, absolutely, I can't agree more with that. It's just sometimes I do look at Russo and I would sit there and think, I wish she were just a tiny bit faster. And it's just some point she was like, when she was going for the ball in the final third, it was just she didn't put the pedal to the metal, so to speak. Matt, G's mentioned that. Adam, sorry.
Sorry. I'm here.
Adam, G's mentioned how well Spain like man marked us and everything else. Obviously, half that Spanish team play with Kira Walsh. They play with Lucy Bronze. When you effectively man mark them the way they were man marked, it takes them out of the game. Do you think that was key to their win?
100%. I said before the game started, I needed Kira Walsh to have the game of her life, like she did in that Euros final when she was amazing. But we saw against Colombia and Nigeria that if you player mark our team, press them, force mistake, we really, really, really struggle. I think there is blame to be made in the formation that didn't help. The back three, I'm not always confident with back three. I think it can work, but there are issues around it. And the main issue is that you surrender the midfield. You surrender the midfield because you end up with a midfield 2 of Walsh and Stanway, and you end up with the wing backs which was Bronze and Daly. They go high. There is space in behind. And the problem is, you had Spain's midfield is incredible, passes off the park, and Walsh simply it was like a mouse trying to hold back the tide. It couldn't happen. It was just outnumbered in the midfield. They just dominated the ball, and the only way we could try and make any possible inroads was where we were high press turnover on the edge of the box, and we had one or two of those, but we never took the chances. So Walsh really struggled in the game, and that I think had an impact in the second half when there was a certain moment, which I'm sure we'll get to, where Walsh was to blame. Stanway again struggled. And then with the wing backs, it's Lucy Bronze getting caught high up the pitch, and then there's space in behind. And the problem was, well, one of the big crimes is not, well, there's two crimes. Firstly, Bronze goes rampant, goes down a cul-de-sac and gets crowded out completely. That can happen. The crime is, if you watch the game back, Russo is sprinting back into that space. Bronze is not in the shot. Bronze is still at the halfway line complaining that she's been fouled, and Russo was further ahead of her on the pitch, has sprinted back to try and make the tackle. The problem is, I think it's Caldente who gets the ball. She's 1v1 with Jess Carter. Jess Carter is trying to hold her up, don't want to dive in. And it's, I'm trying to get the name, was it Cardona? Was it Carmona? Sorry, Carmona makes the overlapping run. Russo, as you say, is a better pace, gets outstripped. And I admire the Spanish in this instance, because the intelligence they have, that the moment they robbed Bronze of the ball, they knew immediately where the space was. They got the ball very quickly to that position. They got the players in position to take advantage of the turnover and the gap. And yeah, the moment I saw Bronze get mugged on the halfway line, I thought we were in major trouble. And the shot is perfect, because a few inches one way, Earps makes a save. A few inches other way, it comes off the post. It is perfectly placed. It's an incredible finish. And it was the only goal of the game. Maybe there could have been more. And yeah, we never saw a midfield because of the way we set up. But I don't want to sound like I'm preaching off, like trying to be sort of intelligent after the event, because I was happy with the team way we were set up going into the game, because it worked so well in the previous games. And I was happy with the back three going into the game, even if I had my suspicions. But sadly, it was the wrong formation to play in this particular game against Spain. I think that was reflected in changes in the second half when Serena Wiegman, I think, lost the plot slightly. I think there was maybe right to change formation, but I think it was overly substituted, which I'm sure we'll get to. And then after that, the game just sort of disintegrated for us.
No, I'm glad you brought that up. So halftime comes and goes. Massive changes at 45 minutes. Chloe Kelly comes on for Rachel Daly, and Lauren James on for Leslie Russo. Immediately texted you on this one, and I went, massive changes. Like, it's not like her at halftime. Was it the wrong call to take off Rachel Daly and not Toon?
I will say it was the right call to bring the players that came on. Because it was always going to happen. Lauren James is always going to be playing in this game in some capacity.
Oh, absolutely.
Chloe Kelly, I feel so bad that she doesn't even get in the starting 11, because she was the only reason why we had a good second half, in my opinion. She was everywhere. Her speed was there. She was holding up the ball well. She was getting back and nicking the ball well. But for me, the players going off was I fully support Serena. Love her. But today, I'm not into it. I can understand if you want to take one of them, like take Russo off and Rachel Daly goes up top. Fully support that. But when I found out, because I was trying to think, because I didn't see it at the time, me and my dad were chatting, and I was like, okay, Russo's gone off. Who's the next one? And I was trying to look, and I was like, who is it? Thinking it was going to be Tooney, because it should have been.
Yeah.
And I was looking at it, and then it came up saying Rachel Daly. I was like, no, that's wrong. And I just couldn't understand. I didn't think she played that bad. It wasn't her side that was getting battered in the first half either. So I think it was very unfair. And then you're left without a striker for the majority of the second half. Let's just say one of them is the top scorer of the WSL. Yes, she was playing in defence this tournament, but she's there. And the other one has already scored 3 goals, 2 very crucial goals as well, in games leading into it. So that blew my mind. I mean, I don't think I think Tooney should have come off. I don't know who. Maybe Hemp, maybe Russo. It was the wrong time. And it sounds like I'm being quite harsh on Tooney there, but it was just not it today. And I felt the longer it went on, the worse it looked. So I just don't know. If put Lauren James there, that's where she was best, and she didn't really do a lot when she came on.
No, I mean there was a point. There was a point for me where she weren't looking what she was doing. We had a cross into the box, and she's put her back to the ball.
And what a cross that
and
was!
That it was a fantastic cross, but that was such a Russo moment where she should have been there. I just
would have been.
It's all what ifs and maybes at this point again, but look, Toon just should have just been taken off. I completely agree with you there. Like, I should have left Daly on. She was one getting the shots in. She scored for England off a volley, and she's that player that will sit there and poach a volley. Matt, what have you thought? What did you think of the brash changes?
It was a bit of confusion, as G's mentioned. I think we're all in agreement that Ella Toon should have gone off. It's nothing against her. It was just she was a no-show, and she wasn't able to do what she's able to do, which is get into those pockets and try and play Alessia or Lauren or maybe Rachel or Lucy into those sorts of spaces where either they can get across or they can get some sort of shot at goal. One thing that I will say though is that Lauren had a fantastic opportunity although it hit the crossbar. If we weren't going to get any goals from inside the box, I think we could have had a couple more from the outside, and that was where we were expecting the Lucy Bronze effort, that where she usually scores a long ranger from outside the box. For those that don't know, please look up Lucy Bronze in the World Cup in 2015 and 2019 in France, because she scored 2 wonder goals from outside the box. Georgia Stanway's also done it before as well. She's very renowned for her long range ability. But just no substitutes. You think, stick with Alessia. You stuck with Alessia for a reason. But if you can change anything, perhaps you change that right hand side. And if you change that right hand side, you bring in Chloe Kelly. That's fine. And then, as I've mentioned, I think we've all sort of slightly mentioned it a little bit. Ella Toon wasn't really there. Bringing Lauren James would have probably been okay. I think the problem is I don't think you can play both Lauren James and Chloe Kelly together, because they like to drift towards that right hand side, and that just leaves the left hand side, or it just means that the midfielders have to push into fill those pockets, and we don't really have that player that's going to, unless you consider unless Jordan was going to come on at one point, and if she would have probably been the perfect person actually to perhaps have been able to go box to box and maybe be able to put in a decent shift in. But I think this also comes down to just a lack of Champions League experience from some of these players. So they haven't played against some of these teams before, some of these players before. It's their first real opportunity since the Euros. So that was probably one thing that maybe counted against them. Some of them have gone into quarterfinals, semi-finals around that time. But it did just on the subs. It didn't feel right. It was almost, I think she sort of panicked a little bit.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Well, we got 64th minute.
I was gonna say on the subs actually. I did have a bit of a thing on them, because I think Matt is absolutely right. I think it was an element of panic, and usually when Surinder subs, she goes like for like. She doesn't really put them all, shake them up and change formation, do crazy ultra galaxy brain stuff. For me, this sub I would have done was I would have taken Bronze off. I would have moved Daly over to the other fullback, and then you could have gone with the back four with Alex Greenwood as the left back and Daly, who's right-footed, at right back. And then I would have taken off Toon for James. And that's maybe how the line second half. The problem is we lost a figurehead. We lost a target player, because the great thing about the Hemp and Russo is that they're two opposite types of forwards. So they complement each other. We went into the second half with a front three of very, very, very similar players, of all three, just pace and a bit of trickery, but nothing target, nothing physical. So when these crosses are flying in left, right, and centre, there's nobody to hit because we've taken Russo off. And I found that I was flabbergasted to see Russo taken off. And what I couldn't believe is, and I don't know why Sri never did this, is if you're going to take Russo off, bring Beth England on. The two crimes were that they took Russo off at half time and then didn't bring England on until about 5 minutes ago when the game was long gone.
It was too little too late for me.
Yeah, but I think if England was to have any impact, it would have been 20 minutes earlier. And I do think it was one of his big gamble substitutions. If it paid off, fair enough. And Serena's made those subs and it's worked. And this time it didn't. I actually think our attack looked better in the first half. But we actually had a few half chances and our attack just looked chaotic and loose. And there was no composure in that second half. Nobody seemed to do all the connections. We talked about connections and how the team evolved and all those organic connections will come together. There was nothing in the second half. That was a front three that didn't know how to play with each other. And it showed.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. The thing is, like, as much as we love our girls, we forget how youthful and inexperienced they are, even though we enjoy their football so much. And majority of the team, we watch them week in, week out. If you're watching the Arsenal or even just WSL games in general. WS? What am I talking about? Losing my mind. But 64 minutes, penalty comes along, handball by Kira Walsh. What was she supposed to do with her hand, Matt?
Nothing. There was nothing.
Even she said it. If you're a lip reader on the screen, what was I supposed to do?
There's nothing that she can do. It's just simple as that. As the ball just brushes her hand and that's it. I knew as soon as you looked at that replay, it was going to be given. And given our penalty record at that moment, I think you're going to come onto it a bit later. But I wasn't expecting Mary Earps to make that save, if I'm honest. But fair play to her. She actually managed to save one this time around. But it's just at that point you think maybe the tide is turning. Maybe we could get a quick counter attack away. But the passing after that just seemed to be like they sort of just decided we're not going to go quick passing. We'll just slow it down. Almost sort of. It felt like a friendly. Like they just weren't afraid. They just couldn't seem to want to go forward and get that goal. They were just so many times. I wasn't actually counting. Any of the times we were trying to go forward and we lost the ball because we were so slow with the passing. But just on that penalty, there's nothing that Kira Walsh can do. It's brushed her hand. It's a bit unfortunate, and sometimes they're given, sometimes they're not.
I feel Kira Walsh could have done stuff. I think the problem Kira Walsh had is that her starting position is wrong. The starting position is her arms are very extended from her body. If she hasn't done the side or she hasn't behind their back, which you do see a lot of defenders in the Premier League do, and I know it looks a bit bad, but you have your arms by your body, it's fine. And the second problem is as she has her arms outstretched and she does move towards the ball. Now, it's probably a bad coincidence that the ball has moved where she has shifted her body weight. But if you watch the replay, her arms are extended and their arms have moved to the ball. And the moment it touches, and also it's impeded the pass through, it's impeded the forward's attempt to move the ball in the box. For me, there is no excuse or mitigation. And I'm sorry, Kira Walsh, love you to bits. That's a mistake. And I think that's, you have to be aware of your body in the box, and you have to know that if your arms are outstretched, and it wasn't behind the body, it was a full out, and it brushed her fingers. That's a penalty, and that's handball, and that's the rules of the game. And I pretty much said, well, for me, this is the killer blow, or should be the killer blow. Spain should kill us off here, and if they did, I'd go fair play. They've been the better side. You've been amazing. We just, in the second half hasn't worked out for us. 2-0, I'd have been happy with that. But Earps pulls out a brilliant save. I watched they did the thing with the stats. They show the which way most teams to go, and I'm looking at the majority of the majority corner where she's aiming for. I'm thinking, right, Earps, go there, and she did. My only worry was if her foot was maybe off the line, because VAR likes to take, as we saw against Haiti, VAR's quite good, big on that. No, it was a good save. She actually moves really early. You watch it, she's diving for that corner before Hermoso has even struck the ball. Obviously, Hermoso has
made the bone to pick though. That ball was not on the spot. That ball was not on the spot.
Well, it obviously worked to our advantage, and VAR didn't pick up on that, so I'm not complaining too much.
You noticed though that, sorry Adam, just that was the delay. That was the huge delay, because Lucy Bronze was complaining about that. You had Chloe Kelly complaining that. Mary was complaining about it.
Absolutely. And then you had like Olga Colmano going over to Lucy and moving away. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, she told her to put the ball back. She pretended to pick up the ball and not move it. And I think that's what really irritated me about that. But I actually chewed my nails. One of my nails off just waiting for it.
I didn't see that shenanigans as far as it's a normal penalty, but I think because Earps moved so soon, I think Hermoso's obviously she's mentally gone for that corner, and I think that's put her off in an attempt to make the save, and it's a poor penalty towards that corner. Not what you expect from a forward of that experience and quality. And I think that makes Earps the first, well, certainly England player, men or women, to save, well, definitely England, to save a penalty in a World Cup final. But I don't know if any other country has done that before, has saved, excluding shootouts, has actually saved a penalty in the World Cup final. So for me, I know we said earlier about maybe some of the players not being the best, or not having the best game. For me, Earps was amazing. And I think she is, I know people said, Greenwood has had good games and so forth. For me, the one constant throughout this entire tournament who's been amazing is Mary Earps. And I think she won the Golden Glove at the end, and absolutely fair play. I thought the one player I would say didn't deserve to be on the losing side was definitely her. Again, I wanted to highlight Lauren James. We bigged her up so much after the group stage that she was going to be this exciting, huge talent, and then in the second half she had 45 minutes and did absolutely nothing. I think there was one shot she had that was sort of tipped over, and that was a near post effort. But other than that, I just didn't see anything from her. But that, by extension, that was with a lot of people. I didn't see much from Toon, didn't see much from England when she came on. I just think that, I think the team just looked very, very short compared to this very hyper-talented Spain side. Player for player, they were better than us technically. That's how it panned out.
Yeah, I agree with you on the penalty. As much as in the moment you think, what can she do? But then when you see in certain angles, it looks like she doesn't even move. But then there's one where and you think, it only tapped her fingertips. Like, come on, what else could she have done? And then you see her whole hand.
Yeah.
Think, okay.
Try to be subtle, and it's no.
Yeah, it's one of those. It just hurts, doesn't it? I hate penalties more than anything in the world because they're so unfair sometimes. And I think it would have been if it was the other way around, like my dad just said to me, if it was the other way around, you would be saying yes, it's penalty. So you've got to just sort of suck it up. But what does frustrate me the most, and it's, our players will do it. Everyone does it. It's when you have this whole thing now of gaining that bit of advantage of just touching the ball on the penalty spot and on the corner flags. That winds me up massively. You think, well, no, it's been measured for a reason. It's there, drawn for a reason. You should put it on that spot so you can't see it. Not have it wasn't touched, it was barely touching if one tiny blade of grass was touching the ball. And sometimes it's that thing that works, but I was just like, Mary, you got this, you've got this. And a really great save, and then you do what came out of me at that moment as well. I was just like, this is it, this is our chance, this is the belief. The crowd, because I can say the crowd were pretty shocking as well today. It was quite flat, wasn't it? Until that moment, and the crowd went bananas. And you thought, yeah, that's it. Now it's given them something to hope for. Now let's build on it. And as you've all said, it just didn't happen. Which is the frustrating thing is you have that moment, you have that lifeline again. You just need to get one more goal, and we can do that. We've proved it in so many occasions against them in the Euros. I know it's a different tournament, but we have done it before. And it just wasn't going to happen. I really don't think if we were still playing now, we would have scored, because it was either under hit, over hit, or just taken back from them as soon as we recovered it.
The connections weren't there, and that was so key. During the Euros, we had the composure, we had the connections, and every player knew their role and where to find the players. And when the subs came on, we knew it. No one. It was just aimless passes, aimless crosses in the box, and just hoping something might happen. And it never did. We didn't get that luck.
So 78 minutes. Salma Palalelo, I can't pronounce her name, young 19-year-old that's a Barcelona forward that we spoke about, that played Roma earlier last season. 19 years old. And gets a yellow card.
Yeah.
She, what did I say? Do I say need? Alex Greenwood in the head to the point where there was. Sorry, Jay.
It was
elbow first, because I thought that's what
elbow.
It was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there was.
Then on the replay, you see the knee come up.
Yeah, the elbow and the old elbow in the knee. Poor old Greenwood, fucking drenched in blood. She looked like her face had immediately swelled up. But it wasn't as bad as it was once the cameras got a bit closer. Yeah. Needed new shirt, new shorts. Should Salma have been on that pitch after that? I don't think so. I'm
with the ref on this one, because I don't think, purely because it's not. There's no real intent, and it's. We spoke. I mean, me and Matt spoke the other day about the Ford collision in the third place playoff, where she had an absolute shiner on her eye, and it's just an unfortunate collision between two people challenging for the ball, and there's multiplications because there's a knee in there as well. It's a booking. I think that's a fair. I mean, look, I think if it would go to a red card, I would say it's probably an orange, yellow. I think it is marginal, but I think the ref can get away with it. In the game when she kicked the ball away, but by that time the game was dead anyway. I was surprised Greenwood stayed on the pitch. I thought she would have been subbed off for concussion protocol, and I think that is also something into it, but thankfully she was all right. Interesting with Pariello, there was a lot of talk about her starting rather than Pateas. She didn't really do much. I think she hit the post right at the end of the first half, but she didn't really do much throughout the game. I think Earp had a good save around the first half, and then she didn't really impact it. But anyway, that's by the way, we kept her quiet, but Spain have so many other threats. But I was happy with the yellow card. I thought, yeah, fair enough. I couldn't really see much in that. And I think it would have been clutching at straws to hope for a player to be sent off to turn the tide.
Yeah, I'm the same. I mean, what a player she is, by the way. Like,
100%.
First half, she had us on the post. She was just, everything was just going to her. She was, obviously she's young, so the pace is there, the skills are there, the confidence is there. But yeah, that I don't think it's a straight red. I think that would have been harsh, and you also think that that's probably not going to happen especially in a final. They don't want that to happen because it then has a huge influence, doesn't it? You see it in many other games, in these big games, that the cards that might be produced in other games aren't going to be. But it's one of those, isn't it? It could have helped. Would we have done much better at that point if we'd had the advantage? I don't think we would have. I don't think we would have used the advantages as well as we could, or against someone else. But yeah, also very switched on for all the girls. When she was getting her treatment, Lucy Bronze was signalling to say, get the kit ready. She needs the shirt. And they were quite clearly saying shorts. So it was good, quick thinking by all of the staff. Obviously took the right time to assess her. She was okay, which is the most important thing. And I don't think, I know that they should step in for concussion protocol if they don't feel like, but they wouldn't have let her carry on if she was shaky, especially in that she wouldn't have wanted to come off a course, but they wouldn't have let her if she was in a bad way. So luckily she got through it, and she was still I don't know what minute it was in, but she did the best tackle of the game. She sprinted. I was like, nah, she's gone. She's not going to get the ball, and she just puts her foot in the perfect tackle. Unfortunately, I don't know if it was Lauren James, it might not have been, but went to got there to back her up and clear it, and it didn't really go too well after that, which was pretty much our day. We were winning. We had some good tackles today and good possession wins, but as soon as we did it, we lost it again, or we did a really lame pass that went nowhere, and they were on it. But it's going to be a learning curve. As much as we wanted it to go the other way, where they have all now, and this squad, there's not going to be some drastic changes like it was from the Euros with retirements. Maybe we might not see Lucy Bronze around too much longer, but the majority of those girls are going to be the main base going forward, aren't they? So now that they've all experienced this all together, they've all got Euros, they've all got a World Cup under their belts now. So yeah, it's still tough to take, of course. But
I think
yeah, there were encouraging signs. You know, we got to the World Cup final, for God's sake. It's just bizarre.
it should say with Lucy Bronze, she'll be 35 by the time the next World Cup comes around. I just don't think she can run up and down that wing at 35 anymore.
No.
I think by
I don't think her knees are going to hold out.
No, I think athletically she's going, and I think it really showed in this World Cup. I actually think I love Lucy Bronze a bit, but I think overall she's had a poor World Cup, sadly. And I think in 2015 it was sort of a passing of the torch from Alex Scott to Lucy Bronze. I think England really need to start looking and thinking who is going to be the next Lucy Bronze, who is going to take up that mantle, because I think that's a position where Lucy Bronze is sort of just been treated as that's Lucy Bronze's position and we won't touch it because she'll start every game because she's that good. I think we need to start looking at the next Lucy Bronze there, because I think that, well, I think she definitely was at fault for the goal, and I think her legs are starting to go, sadly.
Well, on the card itself, it's difficult when you put in that situation. Either way, you are looking at probably they'll probably call it a hard yellow instead of like a soft yellow. Like it's not someone's like who got the first. Actually, I think it was Lauren that got the first booking of the match, like 11 minutes in, and it was really soft. It was like she
that was not a booking for Hemp. That was not a foul. It was a nonsense.
This is one of the issues is when the referee was announced. This the same referee that was from the semi-finals, and she didn't really control the game then. And then
that was nonsense. That was she let a lot of stuff go, and I think what I'm going to say, this is what really pissed me off about that game, was the amount of time Spain spent on the floor. And yes. I'm like, I can go and watch this in the men's game. I don't expect this from the women. But Spain, especially Barcelona, I am going to target them because they are notorious for it in Champions League football. We've all watched it. We all see it. And you know that is just going to come straight into this game. We didn't from other players like Oshola. We didn't see that. Yes, she didn't get the minutes, but we didn't see her rolling on the floor. So why are the rest of them doing it? And I think that's the one thing I do enjoy about women's football, because I don't have to look at that. The men's game is a regular occurrence, and I get bored of it. I'm like, oh, get up. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? And it's. I don't want to see that in the women's game.
No.
It was terrible because, funny enough, the goal scorer was doing it the most. Every 5 minutes, she was going down, complaining about her foot.
And that's meant to be their captain.
This is when we were speaking yesterday, myself and Adam. We've actually had this conversation before. It almost feels like you got the good angel in Sabrina Weimann, who basically trying to promote good football, and then you just got this devil on your shoulder of just the representation of bad football. Spain play lovely football, but it comes at a cost, and the cost is they do the dark arts, and there's a difference between that and say Chloe Kelly just standing in front of the whoever's throwing a ball, or deciding to put your foot in front so that you take a ball to the face and get a yellow card. It's just bizarre, but Pereiro should have been sent off, because not for that original challenge, but for the challenge. Not the challenge. She just booted the ball away, and the referee just turned around and did nothing.
Yeah. And
anyone
you know what?
does
and
that's
why,
an instant yellow cards.
Absolutely. If it was one of our players, instant yellow card. And I think it was let go, and that's what pissed off a lot of people. And it makes you ask questions of what the hell is going on with this referee, and this is because I feel like the refereeing was against us, and something is up. Well, I'm not blaming the players, but the decisions were questionable. This game and in one other game, and they're the only two games I've questioned this whole time.
I would also say the semi-final, it was 50-50, because at one point it was all Australia, and the next minute it was all England. It wasn't
Yeah.
balanced, and it does make you question, why was she given a semi-final then a final? And it was almost like the Americans pushed a load of money and just said, just give our ref the opportunity.
Can we just,
I'm not trying to be the conspiracy theory person, but it just feels like it felt like that. I think there were better refs throughout the tournament, if I'm honest, to take that final.
I think that's a fair point. I think there are probably a better refs. I would also say we got a lot of soft calls, especially in the first half. There were a lot of moments when I remember Bright getting very softly pressed and losing the ball in a very, very dangerous area, and suddenly we get a free kick. I think Walsh had one as well, and from that, Hemp hit the bar. We worked the ball from the free kick. I don't think there's anything to bias. I just think it's just incompetence, and I think there's an equal on both sides. I think even though Spain won, I'm pretty sure they could pick at a few decisions which they think didn't go the way it should do.
Absolutely, it works both ways.
Yeah,
but
and also I do agree she should have been sent off for kicking the ball away and getting a second yellow card. Yeah. But also I think it's clutching at straws to think that would have changed the game, because I think Spain would have been able to see out that. Yeah. There wasn't much time left on the clock.
We know how rare a red card is in the women's game, and it's a nightmare to get in the first place.
Which makes it even more incredible that Lauren James.
Unless you want to be Kate McCabe and get 2 yellows. Different story.
But there's also things that could be a yellow some games, that's not a yellow some games, but there are things that are in the book of a yellow card, like pulling someone's shirt, jumping into the crowd, kicking the ball away, or attitude back. So when the foundations of they are a yellow card don't get given over something
they are absolutes.
Doesn't even touch her, and it's the reaction of the player by cheating and rolling around that gives the yellow card.
But can you put that down to her age though, G? She's 19 years old.
Yeah, but you don't learn, like as you're playing a kid in the field. You don't do that's not learned. That's a way of gaining an advantage. And I would say the same if it was us. You know, I'm sure our players would have done it at some stage. But
you'd say the same for Lauren Hemp and hers.
Pardon?
Would you say the same for the Lauren Hemp situation? No, Lauren James situation?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I still think she should have got sent off in the end. Kind of picked her up again in the Roma game when Barcelona were in Italy. Pretty impressed, and now I'm not interested. I'm not interested in watching her anymore. It's very childish. It's showing her age. I don't care how decorated she is at the age of 19. I don't care at this point. It's okay, so grow up. This is not how we play. You can get away with that in Spain, but you come in here to WSL, you go over to America, you won't get away with that. I can't speak for the French league because I don't know. I'm gonna do a quick fire just to round off the tournament, because this is our last pod. Goalkeeper of the tournament. I'm gonna go to Adam first.
I've made my case. It would have been Musovic, but after Mary Earp's penalty save and the fact that she picked up the award, I can't think of anybody else now. So she's just picked Musovic right at the end for me. Mary Earp's Queen of Stops.
Same.
Yeah.
Musovic has been incredible, I think, for Sweden, especially in their quarterfinal, I want to say. But just from.
Do you mean the US game? Do you mean the US game with the penalty shootout?
No.
Oh, it was the Japan game.
Yeah. I can't remember now. But
one of them.
Sorry, it's just blowing my mind there. But no, Mary Earps has to be now because of the penalty save. Because of the save, but very early on, we haven't mentioned actually, she made a really good save. I thought it should have been a tap in, and she did very well to get what she did on it. And we obviously criticise her naturally in some ways, but she's also very reliant, and you have faith in her. So Mary Earps for me.
Matt?
She's grown very well over the last year and a half. If you think back to the Euros and everything, coming second in the WSL, it's not a hard feat. I originally thought that what was going to happen when she was at United is that eventually they'd fade away, they can finish in that third spot, and that would be that. They carried on that title charge right until the very end, but unfortunately it wasn't to be for them. But that's enough about WSL. If I had to choose one player who could probably argue had as good as tournament, it would be Mackenzie Arnold. And you kind of
Ooh.
wonder, she had this in
Why
her.
can't she play like this for West Ham?
It does
Apart
beg
from
the
she plays
question.
Arsenal.
Yes, it is very funny. It was just one time that ball would not go in the back of the net was against Arsenal, and that was at the West Ham's home game. But I just wonder if it's about what coaching she's getting. So I have a feeling she'll have an eye on a Champions League team or trying to get into a Champions League, so she can really test herself now. I'm pretty sure a lot of teams will be interested in her. It'll be up to her where she decides to go at the end, but I wouldn't be surprised if she does decide to move on this summer.
There'll be takers for her, absolutely.
No, absolutely. I think I'm gonna have to go with our very own Merps. I can't get over that penalty save. It's just absolutely bloody brilliant, but obviously weren't meant to be for us. Next thing I'm gonna go for is player of the tournament for you, based on individual performances. Doesn't matter who it is, but I'm gonna go for Alex Greenwood. She's been absolutely phenomenal. Sorry about that, guys. Pronunciation's gone out the window again. I've just enjoyed every moment of her. As much as I'd love to say, oh, Rachel Daly because of her volley. No, sorry, Rachel, can't do it. Oops, sorry, my watch decided to start talking. So let's just get rid of that because I was sitting there moving my hands about. That was a bit weird. Oh, I don't understand what you're talking about. Yeah. No, but yeah, I'm going to give it to Greenwood. I'm going to go to Matt first on this one.
Oh, you put me on the spot because if I go for Steph Catley, she's had a really good tournament. Some crucial goals, especially penalties and things like that. She's really had to dig deep this tournament. But I think it's hard to pick one, but I think I'll stay with Steph Catley.
G.
England, Alex Greenwood.
Yeah.
But I think how I see it as the player that not surprised me, but got my attention the most, rather than because they were always just pluck a name out because they scored a goal, or played in the final and won.
Yeah.
I actually think Hayley Brasso.
Ooh, yeah.
Yesterday, the game completely spun on its head, and everything went through her in every game, and she was brilliant. So I'll say her for me.
I'm annoyed because G's taken sort of my one in a way. As much as I want to say Lena Hurtig just for the penalties he scored against the USA, just for the vibes, I want to pick a Spain player but there's a lot of clamour for like Bon Mati and players like that. But unfortunately, I just didn't see enough of them live to pass a proper judgment on the particular individuals because at the same time they're such almost a unity team. I could pick every team playing the Japan side because they wowed me, but I'm going to go for Amanda Ilestedt. The goal scoring centre back, Arsenal. I can't wait to see her in the WSL playing for us next season, and I think she's had a stellar tournament. For England, Greenwood definitely deserves a shout, but I'm going to pick a curveball here. I'm going to pick somebody who I don't think started the tournament well, but got better and better and better as the tournament went on and was outstanding in the final, and that's Jess Carter. I think Jess Carter in that final was brilliant. And
that block she made, fantastic.
There's some blocks, the tackles she made, and I think in the final, the only reason the goal got scored is because Lucy Bronze didn't sprint back, and you had Leslie Russo who didn't have the pace. She did everything in her power to stop the goal, but she didn't have the extra fallback didn't have the numbers with her to make the the defensive block. And I think back to that Haiti game and how out of her depth she looked. We were on the counter, we were so exposed. I remember there was mistakes happening. Bright wasn't fully fit, and there was a bit of chaos. And then she moved into the back three, and she plays the back three with Chelsea, and instantly looked comfortable in that and made some brilliant defensive moves. And we had to go to the back three because we didn't have Leah Williamson. And I expect when Leah Williamson comes back into the team, we'll move back to back four. It'll be Bright and Williams at the back, and Carter back on the bench. But I think for this World Cup, I think Carter deserves a massive shout out.
Do you know what? There's some really good choices. I'm going to go for the young player of the tournament now. I'm going to go with Hinata Miyazawa. She was just so impressive for her first World Cup tournament. Golden Boot. She's now level with the record holder for Japan for the amount of goals scored. And I've enjoyed every minute of her till she went out the tournament. I'm gonna start with you first this time.
See, I don't know. I don't think. Yeah, I'm going to go for it. And I can't remember her name, which is the worst thing. I roughly know it, but it was the number 6 for Haiti. Demori?
Oh, yes, the one
Demori.
who's the one who Leon's
Leon's new signing, yeah.
Yeah.
I know, obviously, Haiti, they did amazing to be where they were. But what a game they gave us when we go back to it. And she was ridiculously good, like unbelievable. So I'll give it to her. It doesn't always have to be the ones that go all the way.
No, absolutely not. Matt?
I'm gonna probably steal yours actually, and that is Linda Caicedo.
Oh, for Pete's sake, Matt, that was my one.
The reason
Linda,
why is because when it comes to young players, you think of up to 21, not up to 23.
Oh, tough. I still pick.
But
Linda
Caicedo, one way to basically announce yourself to the world, and what a player that I believe it's Real Madrid have on their hands, and she's only going to get better, and she's going to tear apart the Champions League next season.
Adam?
Yep, I do have one, and that is Mary Fowler. And I think back to the how the team goes, the Australian team, first night of the opening day of the tournament, Sanko's injured, and the attack is in disarray, and they had to grow the attack again, rebuild the attack again with Rasso, with Ford, and at its heart was Mary Fowler. And I think until the semi-final against England, she had a brilliant tournament. And I remember her scoring against Team GB in the Olympics a few years earlier with a bit of a fluky defective shot, but it was good nonetheless. And I just think, Man City, you've got such talent on your hands. Why aren't you playing her? She's such talent. And we saw in the World Cup, I think back to those games against Canada, games against, I think it was Denmark as well. Really, really good player. And one to definitely watch for the future. I don't think either of our players actually won Young Player of the tournament. I can't remember who it was. But
no, it was Salma.
Salma. Oh, yes.
Pariello. So, yeah, okay, that just got awkward. Anyhow, unfortunately, this is our last pod for the World Cup. We are now finished and wrapped up. Before I do that, favourite goal of the tournament? I'm going to give mine. Normally, I'd go for Linda Caicedo, Rachel Daly, but I'm giving mine to the Costa Rican player against France. That free kick.
Do you mean the Panama player?
Oh, the Panama. Yeah, the Panama player. Yeah. Sorry. Similar colour on the flags. I'm just not thinking. Yeah.
Because that was my choice.
Give it to her. And mine. Oh, tough. I picked it first. But that is just gold of the tournament. Technique perfectly executed, in Adam's words from a previous pod. But are there any other goals you guys have really enjoyed now that I've stole that?
I mean, the argument is to throw Lauren James's in there because they were all bangers. And showed the best of her. But you can't deny that Panama goal was ridiculous. If that's not even a typical, the goalkeeper should have got there. No one was gonna get that. It was insane, and it's just a shame it probably won't get the love it should have.
Yeah. Matt?
Linda Bernstein scored a couple of good screamers, actually. Two of them like for like, actually. That ended up both in the same game. I believe it was.
Do you mean Bernstein or do you mean Bruce?
Actually, it might have been Esme Bruce, actually.
I think you mean Esme Bruce. In the Vietnam game.
Yes, so basically scored two like-for-like goals, one in each half. So it was almost like it's like she could get goal of the tournament in either end. But she's had a fantastic tournament, and as well, actually, we should probably say that's actually a bit unfortunate not to get a bit further, actually.
I've got a few, but I do have an answer. I want to have a shout out to Russo's goal against Australia, purely because of the solo run from Hemp and the amazing no-look pass to set up the goal just on the counter to win it. and Parielo's winner against the Netherlands when she bit of solo effort picks a ball from the halfway line, sprint through, and then in off the post. But I'm going for a Spain goal, and that is Carmona in the semi-final, not the final. The winner against Sweden just got back to 1-1, edge of the box, high drive, in off the crossbar, and completely flips the game on its head once more and sends Spain through to the final. So Carmona's goal in the semi-final wins it for me.
Oh.
Shout out to Ella Toon versus Australia, though. That was a pretty good goal.
Yeah, I didn't know she had that in her. So she's definitely in the shout.
Neither did Toon. She said in an interview, "Oh, I didn't know I could do that. I've never done it before."
Absolutely. I mean, her interviews are just like, you just kind of, it's a bit weird. It kind of made me laugh when I was reading that. I was like, really?
Yeah, wish she could do that against Spain.
Guys, thank you for joining us on the road to Stadium Australia. This is our last stop. We're no more England pods, at least until the international break and pre-season. So we'll be back then. But for now, we will be back with our weekly transfer zone. But other than that, we will all see you in the new season for the Arsenal first weekend of October. We are back at the Emirates, and I know all four of us will be in that ground. So looking forward to that. If you do want to follow the pod, please do look us up on VAW Pod on Twitter. Or you can follow me, Lottie_AWFC. G, where can everybody find you?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me throughout the tournament, and I'm sorry I couldn't be there for more. But as always, find me on Twitter's at GTriggs, Instagram is at GonaG1, and kicking back to the podcast with Arsenal Fans Forever TV. So find me on there. Thank you.
No, G, international football without you is just not the same. I'm outnumbered most of the season with these two, so I'm glad to have you back.
Oh, right.
Boys, I've got all love for you, but yeah. Adam, where can everybody find you and your cynicism?
If you want cynicism, humour, and absolutely horrific takes on women's football, in fact, your cup of latte, it's at Adam Salter4 on Twitter.
And last but not least, Matt, where can everyone find you?
Everyone can find me at MattLR28, and don't forget to mention the Vic Akers Wonderland Twitter as well. We do have that at the moment.
Yeah,
you mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, we did. I did say VAW Pod.
Yeah.
But anyway, just a reminder, come check us out on VAW Pod. We are trying to grow the account for the latest content, latest tweets. Go check the account out. We have been a little bit quiet with all the tournament football going on, but we will be busy over the next couple of weeks. But for now, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us all the way through. Smash the like buttons, share, tell a friend, share, subscribe, and we'll see you very soon.